Hello friends, my name is Jake_, and today we're going to be discussing perhaps one of the most contested philosophical debates in all of human history. Are video games art? Indeed, this question has plagued the minds of many of human history's greatest philosophers such as Plato, Aristotle, and did I say Plato already? Video games have always been seen as glorified time wasters that kids use to avoid doing homework or chores. In fact, a lot of people would more quickly group video games with hopscotch than they would with, let's say, the Mona Lisa. Film critic Roger Ebert was a major, critic of video games as an art form, saying that video games represent a loss of those precious hours we have available to make ourselves more cultured, civilized, and empathetic. And unfortunately, this quote pretty much represents the giant stigma surrounding video games. As a 22-year-old man who's passionate about video games, it's kind of hard for me to not get offended when somebody asks me, oh, you still play video games? Like, yeah, grandpa, don't you still sit on your ass all day watching Fox News? To me, it makes the most logical sense that video games are art. After all, art is in video games. The most beautiful pieces of art that I've ever seen in my life weren't gated behind museum walls, but rather behind my television screen. I mean, just take a look at this, and at this, and at this, and at this, at this, at this, at this, at this, at this, and that, well, I think you get the point. But the great thing about video games is not only do you get a chance to look at some gorgeous art, but you also get a chance to fucking kill them! Screenshots of games aside, video games have also contributed to the art world by spawning many of its own subgenres of art itself. Let's take a look at pixel art, for example, an art form that was born out of the limitations of video game hardware. You see, back in the day, you couldn't just have anything up on the screen. We just simply didn't have the technology for that yet. We only had a fixed number of pixels and colors available to us on the screen, so every single little pixel was valuable real estate. Every single pixel was a costly decision, and it was up to the artist to decide how to convey meaning and human emotion through a very limited medium. So when Hideo Kojima says that video game creation is more of a service than an artistic endeavor, I know not to take this guy seriously anymore. And pixel art isn't even the only genre of art that video games have created. I mean, take a look at VR art, dude. Come on, you're trying to tell me that video games aren't art? I mean, take a look at this, dude. Seriously. Now that we've talked about art, I want to talk about art. Seriously, the fact that the word art that describes art and the word art that describes the arts are the same words is one of many reasons why I say English is the worst language in the world. Other than art, video games exhibit many other art forms such as, literally every other art form ever imaginable, except maybe the culinary arts because we just simply don't have the technology for that yet. And no, Cookie Mama doesn't count. Let's start with music. Now, music is a big one and I could honestly make a whole other video about it, so let's just keep it succinct. One of the greatest things about a video game would be its soundtrack. Seriously, video game soundtracks are a jam, and they're even more of a jam because players have an intrinsic emotional connection to these soundtracks. We didn't find these soundtracks because the supermarket just so happened to play them when we are out getting Cheerios. No, we experienced these soundtracks when we are out slaying monsters in The Witcher 3, or doing some insane jumps in Celeste, or walking around in the rain in Persona 5, or killing some stupid ass boss in Hollow Knight, or chopping down some wood in Minecraft. The experience of listening to a video game soundtrack is richer because we were literally in another world when we first experienced them. Another major strength of a video game soundtrack would be in its ability to deliver a player with a genre of music that they typically wouldn't listen to otherwise. Seriously, I grew up listening to these guys, but now I also listen to these guys purely because I was turned on to orchestrated music by listening to orchestra covers of the Skyrim and Witcher 3 soundtracks. And if the ability to share a brand new human experience with another person isn't the epitome of what art is, then art sucks my art ass! Wikipedia states art is intended to be appreciated for their beauty or emotional power. And if you're sitting there telling me that you've never felt emotional while playing a video game, well, I think you need to get your limbic system in check. Seriously, games like God of War, Hellblade, Uncharted, and oh my god, The Last of Us are just so masterfully written that it's just not fair, dude. The emotional journey that a video game takes you through is just so unique and advanced, and is definitely an experience unparalleled by other art forms, because in other art forms, you're a spectator, you're a viewer, you're watching someone else do the cool stuff. But in video games, I mean, do I even need to explain it? Video games are art, alright? They're at least art, because they contain everything that makes art, plus a little bit extra. Video games are such an amazing art form, and I'm fortunate enough to have been born in the right time to experience them. Now, ultimately, does it really matter whether or not a 40-year-old considers God of War a work of art or not? Well, in my opinion, yeah. Like I said before, video games have the unique and unparalleled ability to deliver a human experience not found in any other art form. In a way, I think video games are the ultimate art form because it combines literally every other art form in one box, and I think that the negative stigma of video games devoids so many people of the greatest stories, experiences of the 21st century, and that really does break my heart. Dad, get off my fucking back. I'm playing Metal Gear. God damn it!